Hello and welcome everybody. Kicker of Elves here. Hope y'all are having a great day, great evening, great morning wherever you are. And tonight, getting together, at the time of recording, it is early November 2025. We've just had two back-to-back OTAs, and I want to do a tier list of all the Series 4 cards in the game at the time. Now, similar to the Series 5 tier list we did last week, this is looking at things in terms of how relevant they are in the current meta decks. This is not how great they were all time. This is if you're trying to wisely invest your tokens or looking for new decks to build, what are the very best Series 4 cards to A, invest into, or just consider for deck builds. And I will say this, these are my rankings, and in general, S, A, and B, you're probably pretty safe to buy those. Obviously, the S tier cards are going to be the best. C, D, F, definitely think that through unless you're just like a wizard with a specific deck. Most important thing about this game is having fun, but this is a PvP only game, and generally you're having fun when you're winning. So these are the Series 4 cards that are going to help you win the most. And with that, let's jump straight into it. You know, they say don't start the show with a showstopper, but Agony here, even though this icon has 1-2, she's 1-3, Agony is S tier. Agony is awesome. Whether you're playing Destroy and putting her on a Deadpool, Headpool, Wolverine, just any card that doesn't permanently get destroyed or come back, she's having another moment with the Man Spider deck that's going around. She's a big part of this emerging merge archetype that's been going around. It's pretty exciting. It's a good time for Agony. There was a long time where this card came out and it was pretty much like a meme of like, oh, limited time game mode win. Whatever, like how's that gonna help? Agony right now is really great, and if you like playing Destroy, if you picked up the Super Premium Season Pass and you have Man Spider, Agony is just a phenomenal pick. Annihilus. I like Annihilus, so I'm going to put him in B tier to start out. Sentry, Werewolf, Annihilus, Hood, those sort of decks, they're not super in vogue right now, or at least Werewolf is very good, but the kind of Hood, Sentry, Annihilus package has seen better days. The release of Merlin has made it pretty risky to throw your Void over from Sentry with Annihilus. In some cases, your opponent might just use 2 of 3 Merlin spells to either get rid of that card or turn it into a 6-cost card for free. That's been a concern. It still is a great and kind of the only real clog tool we have these days, but this is not Annihilus' time in the sun. There was a time when this was arguably the best card in the game when he released originally, and still affected 0 cost or 0 power cards to send over to your opponent's side of the field. But he's not phenomenal. I do really like that deck. I think it is a very fun thing. Honifer took a version of that deck to the Golden Gauntlet Finals. But yeah, this is a fine card. Should not be your top priority list. Batroc is either A or S tier. We've seen buffs to the sort of move a lot of cards lists out with the advent of the buff to Hydra Stomper, turning Hydra Stomper to a 3/3. The release of Spider Punk kind of goes in there. Batroc is not, even though he is a move card, he's not going to go into the big move list that's running Human Torch, Dagger, Heimdall, Juggernaut, that sort of list. Did a full deck guide on that about a week ago if you want to check that out and really master that list. I think that's still the best deck in the game right now. But Batroc's not in that. He's in either the Scream decks or the decks where you've got Silk, and maybe you're playing Ezekiel Sims when he comes out, and you're just moving all these cards around, getting a big Hydra Stomper. I think that's a very cool deck. Sam Wilson, Craven, all that stuff. Maybe he's S tier when we just consider the whole thing, but for right now I'm going to keep him in A. Batroc, very good if you like that kind of deck, and definitely recommend him. Beta Ray Bill is a D tier card, maybe C, but yeah, the Thor's deck, the whole Beta Ray Bill, Thor, Jane Foster, King Eitri, that sort of package just isn't really a real deck right now. They buffed him a few times back, and his Stormbreaker, the card that he summons, is 0/3, but even that just doesn't seem enough. Shadow King's become one of the most prominent tech cards in the meta, and you're not running Cosmo in those decks for obvious reasons. You don't want to have a Cosmo lane for your on-reveal buff cards where you're trying to misery them and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know what they could do to make that deck better. It's got a pretty natural curve of Thor on 3, Beta Ray Bill on 4, Jane Foster on 5. You Odin them or misery the hammers on 6. But I think it says a lot that you'd rather be playing Jane Foster, who is a Thor themed card, in negative 10 out of 10 times than with Beta Ray Bill. Not a great card. Black Knight is, I'm going to put him in D. Maybe he's C. But yeah, there was a time when Black Knight was very, very strong, but his kind of discard deck is just not the kind that you want to be playing. There's not a lot of Hela right now. There's not a lot of just his whole shtick of let me discard my Infinite and then bring him back with the Ghost Rider, and then I've made a 420 nice card with Black Knight. Discard decks have moved strictly into the Scorn, Zombie Power Man, Colonel America, that style thing, or you're playing a Dawkin Bullseye discard list. Black Knight is just not the thing right now. I'd rather play a Black Knight list than a Beta Ray Bill list, I think, but neither of those are great. Blob feels like a C tier card. This is yet another card that released as Series 5 and was arguably the best card in the game for a little while when it came out. But yeah, there are just better ways to get a really big guy on the field than Blob these days. Absorbing all of your deck. Maybe you're playing him in Arishem, but yeah, there's better ways to get a giant guy out on the board, whether you're doing Storm War Machine Legion stuff and you can play an Infinite, or you're doing the Merge deck and you can get a huge Man Spider with help of your Agony, or you're just going to play Destroy and get a huge Deadpool naturally. You do not need Blob to make a really just big 6-drop. He has been outclassed in that regard. Cannonball is B or A tier. I'm going to leave him at B. Both these cards are 5/6, by the way. They've nerfed this card a lot. They've nerfed its counterpart of Mercury even. But when this card is good, it's very good. It very much has the sort of Juggernaut effect where its text is like wins you the game in certain situations. But they've rightfully identified this card as kind of a feels bad card, and so they've nerfed the package around it. You could still squeeze it into the kind of Batroc move a lot of Hydra Stomper move a lot of cards deck, but yeah, this is a fine card. Maybe he'll have his moment in the sun again. At the time of writing this, they either are having or just got rid of a giant bundle where you got cool variants of Cannonball and Mercury and a bunch of tokens and credits and stuff. So they're still promoting this. This is very much an anti-move synergy card, but not the very top of the top. There was a time where he certainly was, but that time is not now. Corvus Glaive is a B or a C tier card. I'm going to put him in B. This is a card you're playing in Hela or playing in the discard deck, right? Yeah, you know what? This feels like more of a real card than a Nihilist, because the discard deck that wants to run Corvus, that's running Khonshu, Apocalypse, Scorn. There's a lot of good targets. His ramp is good. 3/5 is a very respectable stat line for the decks you want to use him in. Corvus is the top of B tier right now. Great card if you like discard. This is not. There was other metas where like you were playing him in ramp decks and like just having him and Hela in there as a package. I don't think that's a real thing to be doing anymore. But if you like discard, if you have Khonshu, if you have Apocalypse, if you have Proxima Midnight, Scorn, those kind of the cards that want to be discarded out of your hand, this is a fine card to get. Cull Obsidian is in D tier. Maybe C, but I'm gonna say D tier right now. There's not a lot of decks. We're not playing a lot of Zoo right now. There's not a lot of decks where you want to be playing a 1-drop and then just following that up with a 4/10. The decks that are running a lot of 1-drops right now are kind of like, I guess, end of turn sort of decks, or like Ebony Maw in a Storm War Machine Legion sort of package. This is not Cull Obsidian's metagame. There's a time when this was a fine card to run. Again, that time is not now. I do like Cull Obsidian. I do like the the idea of the Thanos synergy, but just not it for Cull right now. Dakin, whatever. He is either A or S. I'm gonna put him in A tier. The bullseye list that's running Dakin, if you want to throw a frigate in there, this guy has the text where you can double his power. Any kind of card in this game, for the most part, where you've got the word double in there, and you're not just doing it once, and there's reliable ways with Dakin to do it more than once, whether you're frigating the Dakin, Zolaing the Dakin, and then using bullseye to hit all those ones. There's multiple ways to where you're doubling the double, or then doubling the double that was doubled with Dakin that makes him very strong. Talking through that, I think that puts him up to S tier. I still would take Agony over Dakin right now at the top of Series 4. Just, I see a lot more Agony in the meta right now. I see a lot more Destroy. I see a lot more Man-Spider Merge than I see Dakin stuff. But Dakin is very good. If you like discard, if you picked up Bullseye, if you like Swarm, the idea of getting a lot of cheap Swarms, this is a really good card for that sort of style. Darkhawk, I don't love Darkhawk. Darkhawk was, when he released, in January 2023, so almost 3 years ago, this was undeniably the best card in the game with Sabu when he was a 4-cost. So I have some fond memories climbing with Darkhawk, finally getting him and using that deck to help me break through to Infinite that season. But yeah, he is good. The Darkhawk decks you're playing with, like Terrax the Tamer, Cassandra Nova, that stuff, that is a perfectly respectable thing to be doing. But I just don't see him a lot. I don't think this is if I'm seeing a Darkhawk deck and it's not absolutely rolling me, I don't feel really threatened by it, like unless it's drawing perfectly and I'm drawing a bunch of rocks. I just don't feel the Darkhawk package is as solid of a build around as 10 other decks right now. Definitely, he might end up being an A tier card, but Darkhawk, fine card, not the best in the game. Elsa Bloodstone is a C tier card. With the advent of some of the zombie Scarlet Witch last season, you're seeing more Kitty, you're seeing more Angela. So Elsa coming back to help, you're encouraged to fill lanes with stuff like Zombie Sentry. So she is relevant. She's better than Blob, that's for sure. But those versions of the zombie decks with Angela, Kitty, that sort of stuff are decidedly worse than other versions, like the one that Phaser is playing right now with the sort of move zombie Scarlet Witch hybrid stuff, or just doing a lot more zombie investment and then being able to run tech like Cosmic Ghost Rider. Yeah, Elsa has one deck and it's not the best version of that deck right now. Fine card. Fan Fei, this has her as a 4/7. She just got reworked to be a 4/4, and then she adds power and then moves card to the right. I haven't personally had the chance to test her, or not the chance, just desire to. I've been sticking with the straight move deck during my climb to Infinite, but I have seen some positive reception to her. Safety Blade posted a very cool deck yesterday that had Fan Fei, and I think this is a real card. I think it's too early to make the call on how good this is, but initial reactions have me at B tier. First Ghost Rider, this got buffed to a 2/7. This is an F tier card. You just don't. Similar to Black Knight, the kind of discard that the first Ghost Rider wants to be doing just is not the way that archetype is moved. Okay, we want to be doing Bullseye stuff. We want to be doing Khonshu stuff. You don't want to discard your Swarm and then turn this into a 2/3. This card was pretty much DOA when we realized that if you used it to discard a Goblin, you wouldn't gain that power. Yeah. We got this for free as a limited time game mode, but do not spend tokens on first Ghost Rider. Gladiator. Gladiator is a B tier card. Depending on the meta that's out there, Gladiator can be very strong. You don't see a lot of Gladiator out there right now. There are a lot of if you're playing against Storm War Machine Legion stuff and you pull out their Infinite or their Galactus, you feel dumb. If you're playing a move deck and you pull out their Heimdall, even though they might have wanted to use that for turn 6, you're moving everything and that just feels bad. If you pull out a negative, there's a lot of things where if you pull it out right now as Gladiator, you're kind of just like, ah, crap. Like, there's not a lot of gotchas right now, and so as a result, you're not seeing a lot of Gladiator. But still a good card. You can do mill stuff with him. There's room to play with Gladiator. You wouldn't be furious if you got this. It's just not as good as, honestly, bottom of B tier for right now. Not as good as many of these other ones. Gorgon is... I want to put him in C, but this is a D tier card. I'll put him at the top of D tier. This is, yeah, it's just not the meta. There's not a ton of Erisham. There's not a ton of Thanos. There's not a ton of created cards. Like, you could use it to try to, like, tech against Victoria hand, but you might just not be slowing them down enough. Like, okay, my demon, my 110 demon is now a 210. Oh no, it's not the end of the world. If this was a meta where we were playing Erisham, non-stuff, Erisham, or Agamotto, all those, anything that was creating a large volume of higher cost cards, then yeah, sure. But right now it is not the time for Gorgon. Grandmaster. Grandmaster is an A tier card. It feels great to say Grandmaster came out as a 2-0. Cozy said it was going to be a 5-star card, and it super was not. Yeah, but there's a lot of real stuff you can be doing with Grandmaster right now. You could be moving a zombie giant man to the middle location, or an absorbing man that has absorbed a zombie giant man, or a man spider. There are a lot of on reveals that have a lot of power built up in them that really like being used again right now, and Grandmaster is a great enabler for those. Sometimes he can be cut because it can just feel greedy, but there's a lot you could be doing with Grandmaster. Hellion, S tier, top of S tier. Just a fantastic card. A 5/8 baseline, incredibly strong body. And move, this is like your best possible turn 5 play. I talked about Hellion for like 6-7 minutes plus in the move guide I did. Definitely recommend you checking that out for the full thoughts on Hellion, just as it relates to him in the move deck. But in short, he's your best play on turn 5 in a move deck, being able to rearrange your power and like make sure you have, okay, I've got my Human Torch in the Hellion lane, I'm going to keep my dagger in the middle lane, so when I Heimdall, it's going to move them and they're both going to be in separate locations, or I'm going to Juggernaut off this, I'm moving all my power into the Hellion lane and then leaving just enough so when I Juggernaut the left lane, I win by a couple of points. Just the reposition potential on top of being a 5/8, and the fact that it is asymmetrical. If you play Cloak, even though Cloak is much cheaper, you are giving your opponent the option to move cards too. Hellion applies just to you, and in a move deck, that's phenomenal. There's probably more room to mess around with Hellion outside of move decks, but there's not been a lot of innovation in that space. But Hellion, top of S tier. Phenomenal card to get Hellion. Hitmonkey's a C tier card. If bounce or really, it's really just, this is really a bounce card. If there's a lot of cheap hand dump stuff on the last turn of the game, you're playing Hitmonkey and a bunch of 1-cost cards, he's very good. That is not the meta we're in right now. You do not need to get Hitmonkey, but it is a fine card. Better than DNF for sure. Iron Lad. Kind of crazy to say this, but this is a C tier card. It's not better than Elsa. Being able to copy the top card of your deck can be very good if you're just playing, like, if we were in a meta where it was just like the old days of like kind of tech soupy, Zabu Darkhawk, mid-range mush, Iron Lad is phenomenal in that. That is not the meta. We are playing combo decks, we are playing move decks, we are playing Storm War Machine Legion sort of stuff. You don't necessarily want to be using this as like a turn 6 play, like, oh, if I just dig into my deck and hit this one card, it'll do it. That's not the way we're doing things. In the move deck, you don't want to like 1 in 3 play Iron Lad and hope you hit your Juggernaut for him and then hit Ghost Spider and screw things up. In what's it called? In the Storm War Machine Legion deck, you're better off playing Jubilee because that's just going to pull the card out of your deck and then you can hit the Jubilee with the Blink if you need to. This is just not a time for... Merlin is generating spells in your hand, not in your deck. You don't want to be playing a lot of Ironlad right now. If this was like how good this card was in its lifespan of Marvel Snap, this would probably be an A or an S tier card. But current meta, November 2025, early on, this is not the card you need. Jennifer Kale is somewhere in B. This is a B tier card. This offers good ramp to the Man Spider deck that's going around. This can be helpful as a backup plan in some variations of Storm War Machine Legion stuff. It's not phenomenal right now. She did get buffed to a 2/3 just for the record. But yeah, if you're playing Tribunal, I love Tribunal as like an all-time card. Tribunal is not in a particularly strong spot right now. There is a lot of disruption in terms of things like Juggernaut to just screw up your move locations or screw up which locations you have where. So it's not the prime time for those very delicate combo decks where it's like I'm stocking everything into one location, and yeah, that's why I'm not in love with Man Spider. Just Man Spider aside, it's very obvious that look at me what I'm doing right here. Do you have it? Yes or no? But yeah, Jennifer Kale has some application. You'd be fine picking this up, just moving it behind a Nihilus. I'm trying to do a rough like left to right is the better in each tier sort of thing. King Eitri is a B tier card. King Eitri's good. You're playing him in Agamotto list to draw a spell. You're playing him and maybe you're doing it in Arishem or Thanos. He has a role, and this is ironic because King Eitri is like related to like the Thors and stuff. You're not playing Thor's decks. King Eitri and Jane Foster have found relevance in other decks and have kind of left Thor and Beta Ray Bill on the side like, see ya, we're going to go be in a negative in Agamotto deck. You guys do your own things. But yeah, King Eitri, fine card. Lasher's a B tier. Cerebro 2 is not in the best state that it's in right now, but Cerebro 2 is very much a real deck. It's more real than Nihilus stuff, if we're being honest. And if you get this thing buffed up to be a 2/8, and then you use his activate, that's almost a lane winning swing. Lasher's great. Cerebro 2 is the least popular of the real Cerebro decks right now, so not hugely relevant, but still quite good. Laufey. Laufey's A tier right now. Laufey is really, the toxic deck is very good. He is a big part of that. The fact that if he's, let's just say hypothetically, he is the last card you play into a location to make your side of the location full and your opponent has a full location, it is a totally, like the power you're taking from the cards on your side of the field just is, it's like a wash. Like it's like you're not even actually doing that. Like the actual negative power is all on your opponent's side, and that's only if you don't have a Luke Cage. So phenomenal. Toxic's great right now. Laufey is a big part of that, so he's good. Legion. Oh man, Legion. Legion is, what am I talking about? Legion. I literally for a second forgot Storm War Machine Legion was a thing. I'm thinking like, oh well, Arishem, maybe it's good. It's like, no, Legion's S tier. You could make an argument that Legion is better than Hellion. Legion's one of my favorite, just like all-time Marvel Snap cards. That was the last article I wrote for Marvel Snapstone in 2023. Was just like gushing about how much I love Legion. I used Spotlight keys to get. I used 8 Spotlight keys, I want to say, to get his freaking, or 7, to get his Spotlight variant when he came out. And if you go, not to rub salt in any wounds, but if you got him, he was always been Series 4. If you got him on release, the weekend missions were like at 1,000 token rebate. So we got him for 2k tokens. The last time that ever freaking happened. But Legion's phenomenal. Storm War Machine Legion is a very threatening deck. That combo, if you can pull that off, if you can play Storm on 3, War Machine in another location on 4, and then play Legion on the Storm location on 5, you have won the game. There is very few, if any, decks that can deal with that, deal with not having a turn 6. You're only getting 2 or 4 cubes max out of that play every time, so snap wisely. But even outside of that deck, if you're playing Erisham, if you're playing any game with ramp, just you can pull off some scams. You can hit Central Park with it. You can hit Savage Land with Legion. There's a lot of really cool location techie stuff you can do with Legion that just makes him phenomenal. You can make sure all your limbo, you can turn every location into limbo to make sure you get that 7th turn. His utility is incredible. His flavor is great. His variants are amazing. Not that you factor into this, but it does. Get Legion. Legion rules. Tribunal is... if this was just me and like what decks that I love, I'd put Tribunal probably in S tier. But if we're talking about the meta right now, Tribunal is like B tier. That really hurts me. I love living Tribunal decks. I think they are so much fun. I love the solitaire style of just like, if you don't have Enchantress, if you don't have Juggernaut, if you don't have the thing to stop what I'm doing, you lose. I will put up more power than you. If your game plan is just points, I'm going to outscale you. The problem with that is that there are points decks that can go taller. Move can go taller in a way, and Move has disruption in the form of Cosmo and Juggernaut. If you played a decent amount of Living Tribunal and you see them put a Sarah in a location and then snap, it's like, all right, I'm gonna Cosmo that, and yeah, you have your Onslaught down in there, but you're not gonna copy it. You're not gonna copy it with Iron Man. You're like, okay, you can just mess with them so easily. You're like, oh, okay, here's your location where you're obviously gonna try to play a Mystique Prodigy combo on top of this location that has Sarah and Onslaught in it. Juggernaut, bye-bye, you lose because you have 7 points in each location. It is not the meta right now. Storm War Machine Legion, you can't play Tribunal. 6 turns is tight. You really want to have a 7th turn. There's a lot of decks that can just shut this down pretty easily right now, and that's sad because it is one of my all-time faves, but yeah, I mean, not the best for the November 2025 meta. I'd almost just say get Tribunal because there will be times when this is great again, but objectively speaking, he's here. He's B tier. Loki is... I almost want to put Loki in F tier, but like, you just... yeah, this is not the 1-2... This used to be... there's an argument that this is the all-time best card they've ever printed when you just consider like every card in its best state of power. But Loki, you don't want to be doing Loki stuff right now. You don't want to copy their move deck. You don't want to copy their Storm Ownership where we are in a more combo-focused metagame. You're not getting cheap tech cards. This is absolutely not the time to be trying to like get some jank version of your opponent's deck and just be like, oh, well, my Sam Wilson is one cost, but I don't have the shield on the board. So no, don't play Loki right now. Man-Thing's an A-tier card. Again, Toxic is very good. Laufey and Man-Thing. Man-Thing, I might say, is better than Laufey, just because you have a big body, like kind of threatening lane winner sort of card, and Ajax is a better version of what Laufey is doing. But Toxic's a real deck. Man-Thing's a big part of that. I would definitely recommend checking out the Toxic deck. Mercury's now a 3/4, but Mercury is definitely an easy A-tier card, even post-nerf. Move's incredible. You counter it so hard with Mercury. Scream is not the move counter Mercury is. Mercury Cannonball is still a very respectable package. Even though it's not the prime time for that anymore, they've both been nerfed decently. Still a great card. Still recommend you check that out. Meek's an A-tier card. His version of discard is pretty strong if you're doing stuff with Dock and Bullseye sort of packages. Definitely a good card. Is that the best version of a discard list? No, but you can still get like a 1/5, 1/6 out of him that can move. That's really good. Go for it. Miss Marvel, that's an F tier card. You would not ever play this over Mr. Fantastic, who is cheaper, and easier to ramp off of. The condition is just not worth meeting right now. You don't ever... No ongoing list wants to play her. There's no, like... At least the cards here in D tier have their own sort of deck where it's like, all right, there is no other version of Beta Ray Bill. Black Knight does a specific thing. Miss Marvel is a worse version of a card that costs 1 less than her. This is a terrible card. Don't play Miss Marvel right now. Nicholas Scratch is like a D tier card. This is not a card you need to be playing at all. Nicholas Scratch is like a D tier card. You don't need to be playing this card at all. Yeah, as they add more skills into the game, it'll be a fine addition. Eventually this will have to be kind of good, but this is, if they made this like an ongoing card where it's like ongoing has the, +1 power for each skill played, then yes, but the fact that you need to get this out on 1 to start benefiting from him, really, that's tough. You don't want to do that. Phastos is, I'm going to put him at the top of B tier. Buff decks where you're just trying to get 1 extra energy or 2 extra power on a card. That's not really a real deck right now. We're in a meta game where it's about full-blown lockdowns, exponential scaling with stuff like Man Spider and move decks. The little onesie-twosie buffs from Phastos is not cutting it, but those are still pretty decent decks. He's not the top of B tier, what am I saying? He's in the middle of B tier. These other cards are way better than him. Decent, but not incredible. Pixie, that's an A tier card. Pixie decks can still be threatening. You play Pixie, you play Mobius, you try to get a one cost zombie giant man in your zombie deck, or just it is very much like a Mr. Negative style game plan. The Snap Equity is great. It's also just a really fun deck to play, and getting to free roll Mobius feels great. I don't want to like factor in future card releases too much into this, but Hydro Man coming out at the end of the month, a 5/8 that sets the cost of the top card of you and your opponent's deck to 1. In a Pixie deck, that's phenomenal because you've got Mobius down. Your opponent doesn't get that benefit. I like Pixie quite a bit. It's probably at the bottom of A tier right now, but still very good. Ravonna Renslayer. Ravonna is an A tier card. I'm putting it behind Grandmaster, above Man Thing. Its energy cheat is great. This is a phenomenal card, Mr. Negative. This can be great in Cerebro 2, which again isn't really a real deck right now compared to the other Cerebros, but still very good there. You can use this for Man Spider ramp. Just a really great energy cheat card that you play out early and can get a lot of benefit from. Ravonna is a great card to add to your collection. Sasquatch, I'm gonna put Sasquatch at the bottom of C. We're not in a meta where it's like play a bunch of stuff on 5 and get a cheap 10 power card on turn 6. That's not really gonna swing a lot of things against a 70 power Human Torch or a Storm War Machine Legion deck where you've lost the game because you played a big turn 5 and now you don't get to play turn 6. Or your zombie deck where it's like, okay, you played 15 power. I played 21 power with my zombie giant man over here. That's also boosted my horror card, and then Grandmaster. It's not the meta for Sasquatch. Sebastian Shaw is a B tier card. He's obviously a Surfer staple, but Surfer is not really it right now. Again, those kinds of decks in this meta where you are getting smaller additive power on specific costs, like you're better off playing Cerebro. Cerebros are +3 power, Surfer's +2 power. Granted, Sebastian Shaw can scale. You put him on a mirror island, that feels phenomenal. This is not the time for Sebastian Shaw. Scar is a B tier card right now. With the advent of Man Spider, there's been some more experimentation with big guys again, but those versions of the decks aren't phenomenal. I'm talking myself out of this right now. I think Scar is bottom of B tier. That deck, I play a little bit of it. That feels pretty solid, but there's better things to be doing than just being like, I'm going to play a 3/12 in the final turn of the game with a Star Brand. That's good, it's not the best. He's better than Gladiator and Fanfei and general. He's mid B tier. He's better than. No, what am I doing? Moving Kingishri around. He's up here. Scar is decent. That combo is real. You could do stuff with the sort of teched out Sauron sort of shell. You can get him in here. He's not ideal, but he is worthy of mid-high B tier. Supergiant. I hate Supergiant. Supergiant's a 4/6 now. This is. You don't see it as much, so I'm not going to put it. But this is a really good. Corvus isn't. Corvus isn't that good. I'm moving Corvus down a little bit. Supergiant is high B tier. It's just being able to say like, hey, end of turn decks, you're not doing your thing. Oh, move decks. Sorry, you wanted to play that Hellion and move all your cards next turn and reposition. No, you can't do that. You're going to have to keep all your cards over here in the left location. Sorry, hope you weren't planning on Heimdalling. This is a feels bad card. They gave her a little nerf down after she was unplayed for a long time. Yeah, you don't need to be playing Supergiant, but it's still very good. You're probably running her in the Darkhawk list. I don't care for her. Objectively, she's pretty good. Phoenix Force is D tier. Unless you're Jet, don't play Phoenix Force. It's just you don't need to be meeting the destroy and then merge condition isn't worth doing. Topaz, no, you don't want to play Topaz. Topaz is like a D tier card. Topaz goes at the top of D tier. This felt like, I remember when this was coming out, move bounce was still a really strong thing. And yeah, it just didn't get a lot of play now. There are better cards to be playing in move. Topaz. Don't get Topaz. There are better things to be doing. Toxie, that's an F tier card. That's the bottom. God, why would you ever want to play Toxie? Her whole thing about giving 2 cards in your hand plus 2 power, but you can't play them the next turn. There's not a deck that wants to be doing that. Would not recommend picking this card up if you got it for free and you've played it at all. I'm sorry that you've done that to yourself. This is a bad card. Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben's like a B tier card. You could play him in like a destroy deck or like some kind of weird Uncle Ben Carnage package in one of the Scream decks. It's a fine card, but it's not phenomenal. He's right about here. Definitely a card. It was good that we got for free in a limited time game mode. If you love destroy and you love the idea of adding move into your destroy, sure, that's fine, but it's not the best thing you could be doing. Valentina is like a B tier card again. This is fun. You're playing her. This is like a C tier card. You're playing her in only Arishem, really. You're not playing her in Victoria Hand. You're not playing her in any deck that's doing other created cards if you're not getting energy ramp. So she's like worse than Elsa, but just an okay card. Werewolf by Night. Werewolf by Night is up here in the S tier. Werewolf by Night freaking rules. He goes so well with Merlin. All the cheap skills that we're getting, all the stuff that we're doing with the zombie package. You just play that, move Werewolf by Night around. He's better than Agony. Yeah, this is such a great scaler, and yeah, absolutely get Werewolf by Night. Werewolf, Merlin, zombie stuff, very powerful. I don't want to say mid-rangey stuff because mid-range is just not where the meta is right now, but Werewolf is one of the very best, maybe top 20 cards in the entire game. Absolutely S tier for Series 4. X-23 is nerfed to be a 1/1, but she is still A tier. She's better than Meek, worse than Batroc, but yeah, if you're playing Destroy, you want X-23. The ability to have an additional 1 energy going into turn 6 of the game, so you can play Null and Deadpool. You can play Null, Deadpool, Death on the last turn of the game. You're not getting real energy, and if you have her with a Moira X and you get 2 of them out there and you're getting all those Destroy procs, it is fantastic. You should absolutely be getting X-23 if you have any interest in playing Destroy. Mad Thinker is F tier. This card is horrible. They would need to make him ongoing for him to have a chance at being relevant, but I don't know if he is worse than these are two cards that no one has played. He's worse than Toxie because he's a 1-cost that wants to scale and is asking you to invest power into him, and you can just get Killmongered and lose. This is a horrible card. Do not get this card. Zombie Power Man is an A-tier card. You're only ever playing this in that discard deck with Colonel America. He's better than Meek, not as good as X-23. Very strong. Very much a respectable card. I am not the biggest discard gamer, but if you like playing discard and want the best version of that deck, it has Zombie Power Man in it. So just discard. You don't want to play this 2/4 and start discarding in any other deck. Just start discarding the leftmost card in your hand. I've heard some conversation about meme stuff about like playing this and then vipering it. That's way too much power investment, but it's kind of funny. This is a discard card and a very strong one at that. Zombie Giant Man. I want to put him in S tier, but it is not an S tier card. This is better than Batroc. This is an A tier card. It's worse than Mercury, but still phenomenal. You are not playing the zombie package if you are not playing Zombie Giant Man. This is your big payoff card. Hopefully you're absorbing manning them or grandmastering the Zombie Giant Man. This is a massive power card. It makes Blob look embarrassing at 6 cost down here in the C tier. Yeah, if you want to play zombies, get Zombie Giant Man. Otherwise, don't even bother. It's like practically the same as not having Zombie Scarlet Witch. Web Sling, this feels too early to call right now, but Web Sling I would say is a B tier around like here, mid B tier. Full disclosure, I have not experimented with it yet. I've stuck with the traditional 12 cards in move, except I've swapped out Anya for Spider-Punk. I have not played with this, but the potential 1-turn Madam Web setup is cool. I think that's a really cool thing to be doing, and I think there's a lot of room for experimentation. There's that Phaser deck I mentioned earlier where he's playing it with the zombie package. I think this card has a lot of potential. Super Adaptoid is like a D tier card, stealing the activate. It's not. It's like here. It's at the top of D tier. I'd say it's worse than Topaz. You don't want to be stealing an activate from your opponent. There's just not a lot of really good activates that benefit you. Like you're gonna go, oh, I'm gonna steal your Invisible Woman first steps, and now my end of turn cards are gonna proc twice, but you don't have any end of turn cards. It just in the activate season when this came out, it made a lot more sense to have here's the counter card to that. But no, don't play this. Terrax the Tamer is a B tier card. Again, I do not like Darkhawk stuff, but he's probably right around here. Yeah, the fact that as a 3/4, it will calculate the power of him. So if you play him into a location, you're losing by 1, and you start winning that location, it will factor that in when it uses its on reveal. So you could be shuffling an additional rock into your opponent's deck. You're only getting this in Darkhawk stuff. I do not like Darkhawk stuff personally, but that is a real deck. Silver Surfer First Steps, that is an A tier card. I'll put her at the bottom of A, but being able to copy an on reveal in a location you're winning, really great. If you're playing a Wiccan deck and you copy that Wiccan, that's +4 energy for the last 2 turns of the game. That's like your opponent pretty much has to leave on that. That's a snap condition. You're copying your Zombie Giant Man. You're copying the Absorbing Man that Zombie Giant Man. And there's so many relevant on reveals in those kinds of decks that Silver Surfer First Steps is definitely something you want to have. Better than Pixie, but still towards the bottom of A tier. Redshift is a C tier card. You're playing this in Agatha. You're not playing Agatha decks right now. Discard has moved away from that entirely. Yeah, you do not need this card right now. I think it's great that they nerfed Agatha. That's not the kind of deck we need being very strong. Coming down to the end here, Airwalker is a D tier card. Phoenix Force, I'm just adjusting some of this. Phoenix Forces should be a little higher here. It's more real than that. Yeah, you don't, the whole Airwalker, let's just talk about Airwalker and Firelord together because they go hand in hand, putting them there. this is not a real combo. This is not, oh, we're going to do destroy and bring it back and this and that. Don't invest your tokens elsewhere. That is not a real thing to be doing at all. Not worth getting those. Fantastic card. That is an A tier card. That is very, very good. If you're doing end of turn stuff, this is a huge component of that. If you don't draw into your Invisible Woman first steps, but you get a Jocasta and a Prodigy, you're proccing this a bunch of times. This card buffs your Black Cat, your Hydra Bob, the other cards that don't get the Invisible Woman first steps bonus, but just benefit from having end of turn text in their card description. Yeah, this is if you are playing that deck, it's worse than Zone Power Man. I'm just moving it. It's like mid A tier. You want this card. Awesome Andy. Awesome Andy is a D tier card. This is a card that is like one of Herbie's abilities, and just yeah, there's no deck that wants this right now. Is Awesome Andy F tier? I'm gonna leave him at the bottom of D tier. Don't get Awesome Andy. Cobra. This is a high D tier because you could use it to kill the Horde, but that's the only thing you're doing. There's not a lot of Airsham, there's not a lot of created cards in the metagame, and because it's activate, you can't really surprise somebody. Like you're not gonna gotcha somebody into who's playing their Demon on the last turn that's playing a Victoria hand deck. You're just gonna be like, oh, there's a Cobra there. This idiot's playing Cobra. Let me play it in a different location. Why are you playing Cobra? Like, you're only playing this as a generated card. But because you can target the Horde, and they're not really gonna be able to move the Horde unless they're doing bounce stuff, that is a legitimate tech thing, but it's still not that good. But you can be the king of D tier Cobra. Astral Projection, that's another D tier card. There's a time and a place where this was very good. There's stuff for like Living Tribunal. There are times when Astral Projection is worthwhile to be doing, but now is not one of those times. Last but not least, or last but kind of least, is Danger. Danger's another D tier card. Just the fact that this is an activate means that you're slowing yourself down. Activate, destroy a card with lower power here. You gotta wait for them to... It's just too slow. If this was on reveal, it'd be a lot better, but it's activate. It's another thing of, okay, do I just give up on this location because they're going to destroy my Iron Man? Or like, you're not really going to gotcha somebody that in a way that you're going to get like 8 cubes off them. It's not great. Okay, that is everything. Let's just do a quick scan here. Let's just see how this all looks. I like S tier. I like Hellion. I like Hellion and Legion at number 1, number 2. A tier looks roughly right. I mean, don't take this too literally. Like if you're like, oh, I have everything for my Scar deck, or I got lucky and got Surtur from a Snap pack as a duplicate card or whatever. That's like a second card. I have everything for a Scar deck, but you know, Annihilus is 2 steps above, so I gotta get Annihilus. Like, get the card that completes the deck archetype for you. Don't worry too much about this. I mean, granted, I'd say like the top card in each tier is way better than the bottom card in each tier, but let's say, no, this is right. This all feels roughly correct. I like Mad Thinker is dead last here. So yeah, that is the video. That is where we're at with the Series 4 cards as of early November 2025. Appreciate everybody for sticking around. If you made it this far, hit that like button, subscribe. It helps a lot. We're on the early journey for the channel here. Leave a comment. I will reply to all comments. If you even if it's not about Snap, if you just want to talk about how FLCL is the best piece of media ever created, I'm here to talk about that a bunch. We'll go for 20 comments doing that. Yeah, thanks. I've been Kicker of Elves. This has been awesome. I love doing a good old tier list. Probably going to do a lot more of these. We'll eventually do a Series 1 tier list. That'll be fun. And yeah, thanks. See you in the next one. Bye.